A baby elephant fell into the river, and right away it was in serious trouble. Terrified, it screamed and pushed, kicked and flapped as it tried to gain leverage in hopes of climbing the steep, slippery embankment, only to repeatedly slide back into the dangerous river. Immediately, the mother of this baby elephant came running, intent on saving her baby from drowning. She desperately pushed and pushed with all her strength, but she quickly realized that she needed help. She held her head back and let out an immense roar, a desperate call to the rest of the herd. Within a matter of minutes, a large number of adult elephants came running to the rescue. They conveyed no discernible communication. They did not ask, "What herd are you from? Whose child are you? Or why did you get yourself into this trouble?" All that mattered to them was that a fellow elephant, one of their own, one of them was in danger. As they ran to the frantic scene, they instantly charged into the fast-moving current without the least bit of hesitation or concern for their own safety. With planted hind feet, two of the mighty elephants used their combined strength and leverage to hoist the baby elephant into the air and back onto dry ground. A life was saved, a mother was spared unbearable grief, and now a destiny could be fulfilled. Even though the baby elephant made a horrible choice, no doubt against a mother's instructions, it was not discarded because of its mistake or misstep. Allow me to utilize this opportunity to speak about people who find themselves in similar bleak circumstances as this baby elephant. People who have made bad decisions and found themselves facing the consequences of their actions in a different raging river. Fellow human beings who are struggling with all their might to get themselves back onto dry ground so that they can rebuild their lives for their own sake, for their families, and for the community at large. I am referring to millions of people worldwide who are incarcerated. I would like to share some practical tips about what you can personally do to help a loved one, a friend, or simply a fellow human being who is incarcerated. My credibility to speak on this subject comes from entering the prison system at the age of 18 and spending the next 28 and a half years on the inside before being released just a few months ago. I relate strongly to the story of the baby elephant. On the inside, I witness again and again the world of good that comes when incarcerated people see that people on the outside care about them and want them to succeed. I'm immensely grateful for the mighty elephants in my life, family members, friends, and concerned citizens who refuse to abandon me or let me drown. I'm thankful for all those who felt I was worthy of compassion, of being lifted up onto dry ground so that I can focus on bettering myself and preparing for this new chapter. I intend to express my gratitude through my actions today and every single day from here on out. It makes sense that if you've never been incarcerated, you might really be unsure about how you could best help someone on the inside. You might wonder what actions you could take that would be most meaningful, most useful. I will highlight 3 of the biggest challenges faced by people serving time, and I will discuss some of the most impactful things everyday citizens on the outside can do to address these challenges. Those challenges are isolation, idleness, and indigence. But before I get into those 3 points, I would like to emphasize a couple of crucially important mindset shifts that apply to everything. First of all, I like to invite everyone to adopt a mindset of intentionally fostering the success of people during and after their incarceration. It is in the interest of everyone involved, including the families of people who are locked up and the broader public that we help incarcerated individuals rebuild their lives and lay the groundwork for successful reentry. And second, please continue to see incarcerated people as part of the collective us, as part of the elephant herd. Despite what a person may have done to find themselves in the raging river, please reject the stigmatizing notion of otherhood and instead embrace the spirit of togetherness or brotherhood. When you're locked up, you're separated from family and friends, from those you love and care most about, from those you've always counted on to get you through the hard times and provide you vital guidance. You can feel terribly isolated, and your mental health can suffer gravely as a result. All of that is much worse without regular contact with those you left on the outside. I've known guys who went many years without any contact whatsoever. It's crushing. It can break you and send you over the edge. Mail call is a time of anticipation for incarcerated persons. It can be a moment of tremendous joy. Just imagine you hear your name called. You hold that letter in your hand knowing you've been thought of. A simple letter or email can be so encouraging. You then read and reread that letter or email countless times, savoring every word and taking immense pleasure in writing back. The awful, damaging feeling of isolation takes a back seat. Your sense of being an outcast, of being subject to a mindset of otherhood, is replaced by a warm embrace of togetherness. However, mail call can also be a moment of anguish and disappointment. It can result in emotional suffering. Imagine you don't hear your name called. Nobody out there thought of you. You don't matter. Your sense of brokenness gets worse. The spiral of isolation spins faster and deeper. I remember one guy who would write letters to himself just to hear his name called at mail call, or pretend to himself and to others that he was still somebody to somebody out there. Please write often to your friends and loved ones who are locked up. Don't worry about crafting a literary masterpiece. Just write. Share with them what's going on in your life. Let them know that you're thinking about them, that you will always be there for them, that you respect and love them. All of that also applies to visiting a friend or loved one in prison. I understand that long distance and the cost of travel can make that much harder for some people. But the positive impact on the person who's locked up, as well as on the visitors, of course, can be absolutely huge. I vividly recall more than 23 years ago the voice of an elderly woman exiting visitation. She said to everyone, "Young men, don't give up and know that I'm praying for you." Her words sent silence through the entire room. Even the officers fell silent. That elderly lady knew exactly what we needed to hear. Though it was a long time ago, I still think of that moment often. Please be intentional about creating and maintaining dialogue with incarcerated people in hopes of learning how you could contribute to their overall journey of success. Become a listening ear to their core needs and take part in ongoing discussion with them about rebuilding their lives and preparing for successful reentry. Find out how you could support them with their progress. I cannot learn the full scope of someone's situations and plans if I don't dialogue with that person. I'm so very grateful to those, especially family members, who stuck with me while I was away for over a quarter of a century. Their patience and persistence were amazing. Again and again, their expressions of support and love helped me to avoid being lost in the raging river of hopelessness. I'll never be able to thank them enough. Now I'd like to turn to the second problem I mentioned, idleness. People talk about doing time in prison. What that often means is spending long months and years wasting time, doing little or nothing positive to be productive, to rebuild oneself, to prepare for successful reentry. Isolation and idleness often combine to become a toxic, harmful, soul-destroying mixture. It's a potent recipe for preparing a person to fail, both in prison and when they return to their communities. I'm grateful for the many educational opportunities I was given in prison. Such programs are often offered by volunteers who generously share their time and expertise with men who are eager not to do time, to waste time, but to make highly effective use of their time. These are people who have embraced the mindset of wanting to foster the success of incarcerated people. From my own personal experience, I was granted the opportunity to obtain an accredited college degree while incarcerated and nearly complete a master's program in leadership. The countless life and coping skill classes helped me in ways untold. Like many others, I was an avid reader while incarcerated. I'm thankful to people who brought me books or donated books to prison libraries. What kind of programs and books would be most helpful or useful, you might ask? From my perspective, the answer is clear. Incarcerated people need, above all, two kinds of practical skills: life and coping skills, included for dealing with mental health challenges, and professional skills that are immediately marketable upon release. Among the reasons why many people become incarcerated in the first place are a lack of basic skills for coping with life in general and a lack of marketable job skills. If we don't have opportunity to overcome these deficiencies while in prison, the likelihood of our success after release is dramatically diminished. Here's how you could help. First of all, do some research and find out what kind of programs and resources are presently being offered in prisons in your area, as well as what they might need. Ask about this in your correspondence with people you know who are or have recently been incarcerated. Call the volunteer coordinator for your area's prison authority and ask for guidance about what they need and how you should proceed if you would like to be of service. If you identify needs that you, your organization, or company could do something about, work with the relevant authorities to create and implement a program on a scale you're comfortable with. Or you could support groups that are presently doing good work in prisons. Volunteers I got to know while I was incarcerated have shared with me the many ways that experience enriched their lives. They speak of the sense of fulfillment they get from being useful and helpful to people who are marginalized, of learning from people with radically different life experiences than their own, of witnessing and drawing inspiration from people with extraordinary strength and dignity. Today, I'm able to count on the mentorship and friendship of several people whose volunteer programs I benefited from while I was incarcerated. They were dedicated to my success while I was on the inside, and they continue to be so here on the outside. It feels so good to be standing on dry ground, surrounded by a strong, protective herd. I'm grateful. The third and final challenge I'll address is one that makes some people cringe. Indigents in prison are not having access to money to cover certain basic needs. It makes some people cringe because it conjures up stereotypes of criminals manipulating people on the outside to send them money, which they in turn use for wrong reasons. Manipulation like that certainly does exist. However, the severe hardship experienced by indigent incarcerated people also exists. Here are some of the hardships relating to indigence that I've witnessed or heard about in prisons elsewhere. If a person doesn't have money in their prison account, they might not be able to pay for certain important things that are not provided for free in some prisons. Personal hygiene items like toothpaste and soap, clothing, or paper to write letters to friends and family, or for legal paperwork, envelopes and stamps. Without access to funds of their own, a person is unable to purchase food that in some places is essential. I've seen guys reduced to begging for leftovers. Just like on the outside, poverty can be devastating for people in prison. Some turn to theft, Some become extremely vulnerable and are preyed upon by predators in prison. The crocodiles are never far away. The result is often anger, isolation, and depression. States of mind like that make it extremely hard to focus on doing things that help you rebuild your life and prepare yourself for a better future. I've also seen instances when guys don't go to medical when they're sick because of the required fees. Some of them decided they need that money to pay for essentials like things I just mentioned. Others want to avoid racking up more debt in medical fees and copays. Health costs are just one of many ways people accumulate debt while in prison, which can be a crippling burden when they're trying against all odds to successfully re-enter society. What might a person on the outside do about the problem of indigence in prison? You could consider donating to or volunteer for a credible organization that supports indigent, incarcerated people. If you have a friend or family member in prison, ask them about their financial needs and then work together as a network of support to provide for those needs on a regular basis and for the duration. We call it putting money on someone's books. Again, I want to give thanks. I am profoundly grateful for those who helped me in this regard during my long years of incarceration. I won't ever forget that. Some people have been asking me lately, how is it that I've emerged from over 28 years of incarceration doing so well, feeling strong, and with good mental health, and excited and optimistic about this new chapter in my life? My mind turns to all those who have repeatedly came running when I needed them the most, who felt I should not be abandoned to the raging river, who came together to lift me up back onto dry ground, who helped make sure that isolation, idleness, and indigence didn't derail me or my efforts to rebuild my life, who have been so dedicated to fostering my success, and who showed me again and again and again that they felt I was worthy of their brotherhood. Thank you.